afternoon, Grizzlies. I'm your head news anchor, Tala.
And I'm your co-anchor, Lexi, and today's segment is called A World with Drugs.
The new rate at which people are getting addicted to opioids are 1 out of 48. This alarming number that needs to be lowered so less people are at risk.
In most pain medications, there is an ingredient that causes people to get addicted to the relaxing and calming properties. If a person is hooked on drugs and being addicted to them, it can cause them to go insane and be desperate to get more.
This is where drug trafficking comes into play. Drug traffickers make money off these addicts and feed into their addictions because they are the ones benefiting from all the money they make after their sales.
There are huge amounts of drugs being distributed across the Mexican border and the United States.
But not only is there drug trafficking taking place in the United States and Mexico, but there are other places around the world where drug trafficking takes place, such as South America making its way up north to the United States and also throughout East Asia.
In Eurasia, there's massive distributions of cocaine. The majority of cocaine that's in Eurasia comes from Afghanistan. Afghanistan, it makes its way to Africa, Russia, and even Australia.
For more information about what happens at the border, we're going to our investigative reporter, Haley Rodriguez. Take it away, Haley.
Haley Rodriguez reporting live from the border between Mexico and U.S. Here is where a record amount of drugs are being transported illegally, and it could possibly never be successfully stopped. And I am here with a police officer that's going to give us more information about this drug trafficking. Excuse me, sir, can I ask you a few questions?
Yes, of course.
So what types of drugs are being transported through the border, and how are they being smuggled?
There are many drugs that are being smuggled, such as cocaine and marijuana, and the people are getting creative with the way the drugs are getting smuggled into the U.S. For instance, once in 1989, a dog found more than 200 pounds of marijuana in a truckload that was supposed to be only traditional furniture.
That's a lot of drugs, and what impact do you think they have on the communities near the border of Mexico and the U.S.?
Drugs bring out the worst in people. Some go insane, and others aren't in the right state of mind, and they make rash decisions. Crime rates near the border are higher than compared to other communities, and there have been thousands of deaths due to drugs. Also, along with these deaths, there have been so many innocent people that happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time and have lost their lives because of someone else's actions. Drugs are not something to mess with, which is why it's pivotal to spread awareness about the effects of them.
Wow, thank you for that insight, sir. I really appreciate it. And now back to Tala and Lexi at the news studio.
That's just terrible, and the fight against drug trafficking is going to need a global effort from the U.S. It could really help lower the smuggling of drugs coming into the U.S. by adding more border control and canine units. Up next, we're going to bring you some information about the dark web.
With today's advanced technology, people are able to get a hold of drugs such as meth with ease. From the comfort of their own home, drug traffickers are able to sell drugs and make profit. The place where you can find these drugs is known as the dark web.
Through this website, there are ways people can conceal their identity and prevent themselves from being tracked down by using a form of online currency known as Little Bitcoin. The website is very sketchy and has a variety of products, some relating to child pornography, weapons, hitman, and much more.
The dark web is much more dangerous than any dealer because it offers a more diverse selection of illegal activity for people, and sellers are able to ship illegal drugs worldwide. And because kids are getting better at using the internet, they can access this website easily.
The largest site is called a Dream Market. It is a one-stop shop and a supplier to more than 100,000 people.
This makes law enforcement's job so much harder because there aren't any physical exchanges. The drugs are mailed to that person in a very discreet way so that there is less risk of getting caught.
The drugs that are sent from the dark web are also considered to be superior because they are considered easier to get, which feeds into a person's drug addiction and makes it easier to grow.
Drug addictions are an unhealthy habit, and the younger you start, the harder it's going to be to stop. This leads us to our next topic, about the effects drugs have on the human brain. Being on drugs makes you unable to think straight, and you aren't in the right state of mind. And living in an environment that's surrounded by drugs isn't good for a person's mental or physical health.
Here's investigative reporter Haley Rodriguez with more information about drugs and their effects on the human brain.
And I'm back, and right now I'm with a neurologist who's going to give us more information about drugs and their effects. So what exactly do drugs do to a person?
Drugs are highly addictive to their relaxing capabilities. In our brains, there's something called the prefrontal cortex.
The prefrontal cortex is responsible for thinking and problem solving, and it isn't fully developed until a person is in their 20s. That means teens in general don't think things through. They think about what's going on in the moment, which leads them to do some dangerous things, such as drugs.
Yes, and when taking drugs, it releases a chemical into your brain called dopamine, which relaxes you.
By taking drugs as a teen, you may become addicted to this feeling, and you want to continue to get a supply of whatever the drug is. The younger you start, the harder it's going to be to stop, and your body will start to rely on this drug as a source of comfort. And without it, you may feel as if you can't function or continue your everyday life until you have satisfied yourself with this drug.
This can lead to cases of insanity, which is why death and crime rates are very high in communities that are surrounded with environments of drugs.
Very interesting. Thank you for your time, sir. Now back to the studio with Tala and Lexi.
In the United States, drugs are a major problem. People are becoming more addicted to them, and if used regularly, it can damage a person's liver or cause death.
An effective solution for this problem is doctors can start going through a person's medical files to see if they're getting any other prescriptions. And by taking random urine samples from the patient, they can ensure that they're only taking the prescribed drugs.
Another past solution that was very effective was having pharmacists change the formulas in some drugs, which made them harder to snort or inject.
This worked, but then people just switched to another type of drug and the system continued, which is why we need a better and more effective way to find and detect drugs.
A large issue that we have is at the borders. These borders are one of the most used ways to smuggle drugs into the United States. You would think that knowing this, the people would search cars more precisely. Police at the borders aren't even taking minutes to check these cars. On average, it only takes police 30 to 45 seconds to search each car.
A fix that has been working with success are drug-sniffing dogs. Dogs can smell drugs with speed, and they can find them in most hidden places. Dogs are making a big difference in the battle of drugs.
Grizzlies, drugs are not something to mess around with. It is going to take a global effort to help lower the amount of illegal substances that are being transported.
Thank you, and tune in next time. In Eurasia, there is a massive distribution of coke, and a majority of the
Do that again.
In Eurasia, there is a massive distribution of cocaine. In Eurasia, there is a massive distribution.
Your body will start to rely on this drug as a source of comfort. And with that,
Substances that are being transported.
Yeah, Grizzlies.